having that ideal childhood of having the memories that you see average kids who aren't in the system have.
Normalcy to me is being with my friends and family.
Normalcy is just being like everyone else.
Normalcy to me is just, children and youth basically having the same experiences that their peers have growing up. And like these experiences, in my opinion, range from like, being able to just go hang out with friends, like after school sometimes, or being able to be in clubs, being able to stay at your friend's house, like after school, or like spending the night or when.
Normalcy is basically being able to do the things that are normal.
Normalcy to me is whatever I did at home, I continue to do it. Like going out on family outings, like maybe going out to eat on Sunday, going to church, going to the park with my brothers and sisters.
Doing things that you were previously doing, even if that means with your biological family or another foster family, but just continue in the flow. If you played sports, continue to play sports. Be a normal child, not the foster child.
People need to be able to go do things on their own, go experience, to say like their own life, but like being able to just experience things that they're either used to before they enter the system, or even experience things that while they're in there.
Would be having the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to, or having someone say, it's okay to make a mistake, not having to always explain, why you acting the way you're acting.
Different parts maybe, but throughout most of it, I do know that I wasn't, I do know that I didn't have normalcy. In some situations there was a home where I had this one girl that I liked, and I was like, hey, I can't drive yet, but I can meet you, at the movies. And so, like, I actually built up the courage, to ask a girl out, and I was maybe like in the 8th grade, and so I wasn't able to go to the movies with her though. And like, even though I told her I could be there and told her that, I wanted to go with her, foster parents said that, I couldn't, they wouldn't allow me to, because, they didn't want to be there with me, or they didn't want to give me that kind of permission or that kind of freedom. I was involved with extracurricular activities. I played sports. Sports was my outlet. Like, that was my way of like dealing with foster care and, the stressful life that, I had. And sports was my outlet. And the reason why I say it was stressful is because I had to find my own transportation. Like, foster parent would say, well, you can do that, or you can play this, as long as you have a ride. And there would be a lot of people, they didn't want to go out of their way and give me a ride. And, I probably missed some very key points in my life because of not having normalcy, not being transported to and from practice, and not being picked up from school. So, but there were homes that I did feel like I wasn't content, like I was categorized, and like I was under a routine, like a lock and a key, like not to ask to do certain things because you weren't allowed to, because you were a foster child. That you couldn't drive or ask to use the vehicle because you didn't even have a license or even a permit until 18, and you knew that there was rules and there were expectations, and basically you knew that there were things that you wanted to do but you couldn't because you were a foster child. One thing that you could probably do as far as maybe changing or continue to do, that I would recommend or suggest, is nothing. Be there. That would be, by being there, you are already so many things that you could probably find in reading a book, or maybe doing research on, or maybe, like I said, that book on how to discipline or how to parent that child. Just by being there, it's the best way I put it before, like I've said, is like you're wearing an invisible green cape that only the foster child could see. Like that foster child sees and noticed, and like you may not even know it, but you're a huge impact, and you're a huge importance in that child's life. And so when you get a new child, or whenever you come across a new case, or like I said, a child, just be there. That child's not a statistic. Your job is that child's life. It was your baby. Like imagine if that was your baby, and the only thing that you knew about that baby was it was a certain color, it came with a certain file, or it was a certain title, foster child. Your baby is a foster child. You gotta think of the situation as a foster child myself. 21 years of experience, I've had every label. Foster child, adoptive, abused. But I just want to be normal. You know, normalcy means so much to me, and it also means so much to the child that you're going to probably be taking care of in the future.
I don't know, honestly, because I've never really experienced normalcy. I felt at times I could have enough freedom to be myself, but often I wasn't able to do that. I feel that I've never really experienced normalcy in my life because I grew up kind of in a bad situation, and then when I went into foster care, I was in detention and long-term residential and then psychiatric care. More access to music and art supplies. Being able to see my family more would have been good, and also just having the ability as a teenager to socialize and date and experience that would have been cool. Still feel like I have to watch my back at times. I sit with my back to a room. Well, I can't sit with my back to a room. I freak out if somebody stands behind me for too long. But the transition out was difficult. It's weird going from such a restricted placement. I'm lucky I kind of did a stepped transition because I probably would have gotten overwhelmed pretty easily. I think normalcy to an adult would mean just the standard, normal, soccer mom, cookie cutter, American dream stuff. Ability. Yeah. I wouldn't even try for normalcy for me. I would have just been happy with stability or any sense of consistency or safety.
Normalcy is basically being able to do the things that a normal child would be able to do, being able to go out with friends, being able to go different places, being able to play different sports and stuff like that. Normalcy for an adult would basically mean following a strict set of guidelines and rules of this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. They may understand that, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they'll allow you to be a normal child just because there are those guidelines in place that they have to follow. For a kid, normalcy means just being able to go out and just have fun, you know, not taking months at a time for background checks just to go next door to a friend's house, being able to play sports like a normal kid and basically having a pretty much normal life even while dealing with being in a situation of the foster care system. There was times where I would want to go down the road, you know, and just play in the park or something like that, and it was always that term, you're a foster child, and you know we couldn't go out and do things like that, you know, and that's really what all we wanted to do is just, you know, have normalcy like a normal child. So. Normalcy to me when I was 15, 16, 17 was basically being able to go out, you know, hang out with friends, you know, as long as I keep my grades up, as long as I was being responsible and being able, you know, just go out like a normal, you know, teenager at that time and come back in, you know. Now normalcy at the age of 24 is continuously still being responsible, taking care of things, taking care of my business, staying in school, graduating. Always wanting to be normal. What we did was we started talking to our foster parents, then we start talking to our caseworkers, and the caseworkers start talking to their supervisors, their managers and CEOs. And what they did was they got us all together and we wrote letters to our congressman. And they actually allowed us to not only to write the letters, but actually to go to my state capital, Tallahassee, Florida. Was able to go there and actually talk to lobbyists and, you know, a couple senators and, you know, the congressmen and the House representatives, and actually talk to them and say, you know, we want normalcy, you know, what can we do to be able to have that normal lifestyle that a normal kid would have, you know? So, and they actually listened to that and got bills passed where we were actually, you know, able to have normalcy, because it wasn't just for us. It was, I mean, it was for us at the time being, but we also seen the long picture ahead where the kids who were coming after us, where if it didn't get passed, you know, while we're in the system, hopefully it would eventually get passed for those so they can have normalcy as well.
Okay.
It's just crazy. I mean, like, things like if we want to go next door, you know, to hang out with friends or something like that, I mean, it's literally next door, you know, and you're telling me that we have to go through months of background checks and fingerprints and stuff like that, and it's kind of like, you know, these people, you know, like, why can't we go next door, you know, and chill with them or stay the night or something like that? But I mean, I guess at the same time, you know, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because their hands were bound just because, you know, the legal situation and stuff like that, and they would be held reliable. But I believe there's an emotional part. I mean, because you get attached, you know, and then those foster parents or group home parents who you with, they know the things that you're going through. After you've been with them for a while, you know, they know the kind of things you like. They know what sets you off or whatever and stuff like that, you know. So I feel there is an emotional attachment, whether, you know, you actually want to show it in the beginning. But I think eventually, you know, it'll come around. As long as there is normalcy, you know, and the parents are treating you normal, I think eventually it'll come around. I would just say if they have kids or if they've had kids, you know, just kind of treat them, you know, the same exact way they treat their kids. I mean, by statistics, you know, we are already, you know, statistics against us or whatever, you know, are already negative. So, you know, just like try to help build us up or whatever, you know, give us positive influence, you know, because basically they're with us all the time, you know, besides when we are in school or something like that. So, you know, like be that role model that actually, you know, allow us to look at things in a different light, in different situation, and say, you know, I want to be somebody, you know, I don't want to be just another foster kid.
To me, would be having the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to, or having someone say, you know, it's okay to make a mistake, not having to always explain, you know, why you acting the way you're acting, you know what I mean? Why you can't accept certain things, or why, you know, because for me, like a lot of the kids, my friends who weren't in foster care, didn't have to explain a lot of what they did. It was just kind of like, oh, you know, you're growing up, it's expected, you know, it's okay. But when it came to me, because I was in foster care, it's like, you know, you should know better. What are you doing? You know, if you do this, you know, you're gonna, you know, this will happen. So if normalcy to me will be to have the freedom to make your own mistakes. Would have to be a child who is seen, not heard, unless spoken to. A child who is kind of kept in this sort of box. You know, it has boundaries, and that the child is okay with these boundaries. That's what I think the adults would think that normalcy is. As far as kids go, I think it would be the complete opposite. Normalcy for them would to be, you know, having no boundary, but being able to create their own boundary, and not being afraid of what that boundary will look like to the adults or to society. I think that having as much trouble as I had at the beginning, right now I'm trying to kind of develop my own normalcy. I'm in the process of building what I think normalcy will be. As far as right now, all the way around, no, I don't think I have it, but I think that I'm working towards reaching my own type of normalcy. When I was 15, 16, in the middle of my system, I thought that normalcy was, you know, okay, you come home, you have a mother and a father that say, okay, I love you, okay, you know, you sit down, you do your homework. There was no having to see a social worker. You didn't have to, you know, get everything quarried. You didn't have to say, oh, you know, I'm going to meet at this person's house this time. I'll be back at this time. We're going to take this many breaks. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, or what I hoped that normalcy was that just freedom, but with responsibility to have it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't have to be like this, just like system that you needed to follow. I was lucky in the sports team because my coach didn't care. You know, as long as you played and as long as you played well and you showed up to practice, he didn't care where you were from. He didn't care, and as long as your grades were good, because that was a big thing that he didn't care. But as far as my foster mother goes, she had a lot of foster kids who weren't involved in school, who didn't do a lot. You know, it was school and they came home, so it was hard for her to kind of accept the fact that my sister and I, because we both did sports, had this commitment. And that no, we could not just skip practice. You know, no, we cannot, you know, skip a game because we have, you know, a meeting with our social worker. You know, no, we, you know, as any other kid, you know, their parents would have understood that you made this commitment, you will stick with this. But because my foster mother, she wasn't used to or didn't understand, you know, why we got involved in these things, she struggled with, you know, kind of supporting us, being with us as first support. So like we have people who, you know, as long as you played, but then my foster mother, you know, she couldn't quite grasp the fact that, you know, we are normal kids doing normal things, and if it was your, you know, this is what normal kids do. You know, I snuck out a lot to go see my mother because we were in the same city, and like your brother, I knew that city, you know, from the one end to the other end. So, you know, I would leave and I would go and see my mother, you know, and so... But that's only because, you know, they would never, because we were youth, they were never able to give my sister and I a straight answer. It was always, oh, you're too young, you know, oh, you shouldn't know that. And so that's why we took it into our own hands. But when we were in the mentor foster home, you know, it was ridiculous. You know, the amount of things that they had us do, it was like, you know, okay, check in every week. You need to, besides the main Corey, you need another Corey. You know what I mean? Home alone time. You weren't allowed to stay home alone until you turned 16 years old, and you had to earn it. And that was about 2 hours of home alone time. My foster mother drove the school bus, and so normally, you know, we weren't even allowed to take the school bus home. We had to stay at the school or the center of town at the library until she was done with her run. She finished around 6 o'clock. So right out of school, we went right to the library and stayed till 6 o'clock because they, you know, they for some reason thought that, okay, these mistakes that we made, you know, they took too, like, it wasn't like we were killing people. You know, we were having trouble. I wanted to see my mother. You know, I missed her. Instead of, like, so they just took everything away from us because, you know, it was just, you know, because, like, we missed our mom, and I ran, and I went to go see her. You know what I mean? I came back. You know, I wasn't coming back, like, flipping over stuff. You know, I came back. But, yeah, it was ridiculous how they treat kids sometimes, or what they make them go. When I was in foster, early in the foster home, there was no like sharing anything. Like you never shared anything. You bought your own stuff. You bought your own food. You bought your own And so one time when I came into a foster home, the foster parents cooked a family dinner, and we sat there and we all ate together. And not only did that, this is the thing, it was like a clam boil or whatever, so they had like lobsters, and it was like clams, and it was like all this like expensive food that I didn't think that we would be able to eat, because that was expensive, and they shared it with us. You know what I mean? Like, I got the claw off the lobster, and I was like, what? You're sharing this best part of the lobster with me? Oh my god, it was the happiest day of my life. I was like, wow, that definitely made a connection. Introducing me, my sister and I to their family as, hey, these are our new kids, not, hey, these are our foster kids, they'll be with us for a while, but, you know, hey, these are our kids, you know, this is blah, blah, no, you know what I mean? Just introducing us as an equal, not like this off to the side person, you know, we're family, you know, just coming to our games, like, that was crazy. My social worker one time came to a basketball game, that was awesome. Made a sign and everything, you know, just, you know, and boxing. My foster mother came to one of my fights one time. She'll never go to again because she didn't like the fact that I was being punched in the face, but she came, and that was great. Just little, honestly, little things. It doesn't have to be like, oh, tattoo my face on your arm, you know, for me to make it feel like family. You just gotta be like, hey, you know, good morning, or hey, how was your day? You know, or hey, let's go outside and cut the wood together. You know? I don't know. It's like little stuff like that. Not like giant things. Oh, I'd have to tell those social workers, the foster parents, that you really have to make a connection with the kids. I think that what failed us was that my foster mother lacked a connection with us, so we automatically feel like we weren't a part of, because she couldn't make a connection with us. I think that as long as the foster parents and the social workers can come down to the kids level, I think that would automatically open doors, and that will get rid of so many other issues that you think might arise, because that's the main problem, is that kids feel like, you know, there's no connection, that they're put here because, you know, they did something wrong. I think that just make a connection. Humble yourself to come down to their level, you know, instead of making them rise up to yours. You know what I mean? That's gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. This kid's in a situation, you know, it's harder for him to build up to you than it is for you to come down to them. At the beginning, I was like, normalcy. It's like, that sounds like normal. But the last end of the part is, it's like, you know, kind of throwing me off. Because like, you don't really hear normal too often in foster care. That's a word that we don't say. It's because obviously nobody is normal in foster care. So we don't say it. We kind of like, so normalcy, I was like, what the hell? But now, as I look back and I kind of apply what you explained to me in my life, I was like, yeah, this is what normalcy is. This is how. So if you were going to explain it to a youth, I would say, you know, what makes you feel a part of? What makes you feel connected to the people that you're with? You know, what part of your life makes you feel like you don't have to be the foster kid that you are on paper, that you can, you know, reinvent yourself? Because you're completely different in front of your social workers. Well, I was in front of my social workers than I was in school. You know, what part of your life made you feel that you didn't have to have those two personalities? That's what I think, that normalcy part of your life. That's what I think went back in my head. I was like, okay, so what made me feel like I wasn't, you know, foster kid? I was Daniesha. You know what I mean?
Give me a second, I need to get my story straight. My friends are in the bathroom getting